Boker Tov, everyone. Good morning. Morning Torah once again here on Gavalt. What is today? Wednesday, May 6th. Torah portion is Emor still, dealing primarily with the priests. And the instruction of being the Torah portion has a very interesting beginning. It says, Emor el HaKohanim, tell the Kohanim, Moshe, Aaron, tell the people that are leading, the religious leaders in the desert as we're wandering, that they should not defile themselves with sadly, those who have died. And this Kohanim, this group, should not go and be close to those who have died, to corpses really, and except for, it says, those who are your immediate family members, basically, like immediate circle of family members. So let's say a priest or a high priest is not supposed to be involved in any burial rituals with the general community, but the exception's made for his own close relatives. And, we could look back in the Torah's concept of what is purity and impurity. By the way, it's not about evil or good. It's not about necessarily a judgment of whether it's sinful or bad. It's just that, in general, the Torah is keeping the priest away from tum'ah, from impurity. And one of the impurities that the Bible talks about a lot in Leviticus is, sadly, those who have died, the corpses. It's a place of death, and the priest should be staying away from that, basically. And, so that may be a sense of kind of a ancient religious sense, or a sense of, we want the priest near death, that's kind of the ancient sense. What I take from this now, and this even comes to this very day, to this very, very day, there actually is a practice amongst some pious, observant Jews, that if you are identified as a Kohen, a descendant of that priestly class, you don't enter a cemetery, for example. So this idea that you don't go in a place where there are, sadly, those who are deceased. It's where the bodies are. You don't participate in the Jewish ritual of cleansing the body for burial, called tahara, if you're a Kohen. This is some Kohanim choose to make that choice. But let's bring it to, a kind of more contemporary idea. And, the Kohanim back then were both a combination of religious leaders. They were the spiritual leaders. They were the ones who were doing the rituals of worship on behalf of the community. And they also were kind of like the ancient doctors. We talked about this in earlier Torah portions about the way they dealt with skin lesions and issues around infections. They were the one who inspected. They offered a kind of ritual cleansing. So they had kind of a spiritual doctor. Their role was a healers. They were healers in this way. So the question the issue is, it's not just that they're healers. And they're interacting, as we talked before, with those in the community that are sometimes the suffering the most. Both those who actually have skin lesions and things like this, but also people who are coming to them constantly to confess their sins. Coming to them and saying, I'm going to confess I did this wrong, and now I'm offering the sacrifice. And the priest, we have to imagine, would know, what someone was doing. We'd hope would keep it in confidence. So the priest is absorbing an enormous amount of what, kind of therapists would say today, like trauma or secondary trauma, right? First, there's the person who has this life challenge. And then they bring it to the priest, saying essentially, help me with you and with God to cleanse me of this. And it's a tremendous privilege for the priest. I imagine the priests feel blessed to do this job. It's a helping profession. And it's an absorbing profession where these others and their challenges can weigh on the priest's soul, on the Kohen's soul. So then why can't the Kohen do one of the most meaningful rituals to help someone, which would be helping with burials? Well, the Torah is saying basically, there are limits. There's a lot you can do, Kohanim, for the people. There are a lot you're taking on a lot. On your heart, on your neshama, on your soul. But it's okay also to set a limit and to say, I can't take on everything. And taking on everything from you is going to have a deep, deep effect on my ability to serve. And then in the kind of mystic language, and this is in the context of the counting of these days of the Omer, there's a concept of chesed and gevura. Chesed is God's loving kindness, God's love, and kind of the attribute of love in the world. And Gevura on the other side is limits, boundaries. Love is endless and infinite. Gevura is limited, it's finite. It's stopping. It's like if you imagine a glass and water, water is chesed, it overflows. It goes wherever it needs to go. The glass contains the water. That's gevura. Both are needed in life. If you're just filling with love and kindness and giving, you will burn out. If all you are is gevura, then you have no love in your heart. Then all you are is you're tough. So it's a combination of both these things. And by saying you can't be with corpses or be involved in burials, it's saying, Kohanim, you have a job, a very meaningful job, but you also have to set limits or you're going to burn out. It will have an effect on your soul. I say this as a privilege of being a congregational rabbi. Of the many blessings I feel in this work, is I get to interact with my congregants and they come to me. I've even had, in the course of my rabbinate, people who are not part of my congregation, who are not Jewish, who wish to talk about something deep on their heart, and for a variety of reasons cannot go to their community's spiritual leader, or perhaps they don't have that type of relationship, or perhaps they're not traditionally religious for whatever reasons, but they feel comfortable coming to me or to Rabbi Jenny, and we open our hearts but over these years, when I've met with certain people, I take it in because I care so deeply. It weighs. It absolutely weighs. And in fact, I think about that in terms of the synagogue itself. Yom Kippur in the Torah was not just about cleansing and atonement for the people, which it was. It was cleansing and atonement for the tent of meeting and later for the temple in Jerusalem. It was like the walls itself of the synagogue absorb a year's worth of confessions and sins of the people. And there's a consequence to that. It just can't constantly go. There has to be a day where it's cleansed, where it's cleaned, where it's let free. So I offer this now during COVID-19 to say that, especially those of us who are trying to help, and I talked yesterday about service, and service is a way through this, is to find ways to lose yourself in helping others, meaning finding what I call the joy, deep soulful joy, sustaining joy. At the same time, it's okay to set limits, to say, what, I can do this, but I can't do it all. And look at the last thing it says in the Torah portion is that the priest can't serve and do funerals and rituals of death with others, but he's given the exception for his own family members. And of course the teaching there is, if you're so there for everybody else, and you don't create some kind of limits, then you won't be there for the people that are close to you. Just leading and helping and serving others, it's so meaningful, it's important, you're needed, it's true. But if you neglect the people that are closest to you, one of the teachings we hear so much about Moses and his leadership, I love Moses. My Hebrew name is Moses. We hear very little about his children. Some have argued that therefore, it's a sign that he has actually a relationship with his children. He was there for everybody else. Was he there for his kids? Torah says, Kohanim, you got to find places where you're not just for others, you're also for taking care of yourself and you're taking care of your own mishpach, your own family. So the lesson of Amor is about those of us who help others, teachers, healers, doctors, whatever you are. When you're helping others, it's also okay to set limits. Not only that, it's a mitzvah to set limits. You got to take care of yourself too. So take care of yourself today. Stay healthy, not only from the infection, but also from burnout. Shalom. Boker tov. Sweet day. Bye-bye.